Welcome to the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Note that both directors are here. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second that. Public comment. Do we have anybody? Nope. Okay. The minutes. I looked them over. They look good to me. So I'll move them.
Look good to me also. I'll second.
Okay. Review of events.
So this last weekend, we had a compost/tree workshop in the park, and it was very well attended, very positive. Everybody appreciated the information they received and the tumbling composter and the free tree. And so we want to do another one in the spring. And then we had the used oil collection event at the CR&R yard also last Saturday. And I don't have any data on that yet, but when I get it, I'll forward it on to you. I do know that the last one that they did in our community, it set a record for the county. So we'll see if we're still record breaking.
Let's see if we broke our prior record.
So that's kind of it. It's going to be pretty quiet for the rest of the year, other than we have, a farmer's market booth coming up, and I'll be going to a Kiwanis meeting, but that's about it. No big events.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
I do not. Oh.
I don't have any as well. Thank you for doing all that and putting it together.
Yeah, it was a fun class.
Okay, update on uniform collection. How are we doing with that?
We are doing well. So as of last month, we had almost 5,500 residential trash accounts. Commercial is holding steady. We're slowly working through the commercial SB 1383 exemptions. So we'll probably end up with around 50 or so of those. The trend is staying around 65% CR&R service, 35% self-hauling. We did get some good news from the county. I think I reported on this at the last board meeting. Their IT department has said that they are able to get us usage details for the dump pass. So this is great, because rather than giving customers service they don't want because they failed to identify themselves as a self-hauler, we can just look to see, have they used it in the last year? And if they have, we can just key them into the system as an unidentified self-hauler. And then it's the gap, whether if they don't have CR&R service and they haven't used the dump card, that we'll need to look closely at to determine how to proceed, which will probably be a mandatory barrel service. So we don't want to do what the county did, because apparently it's not going well. People are just kind of throwing them in the bushes. They don't want them. They're mad at the county. They felt like they weren't notified of what was happening. And of course, they have like a whole other process than we do. They had about a month to get in a paid permit to self-haul. And we don't have that. We're doing ample time, and there's no charge for self-hauling. So it's good that we're able to get that data now. The other thing is, I did ask for an update on what's happening at the transfer station. So it's looking like the second quarter of next year, they will be operating it fully with SB 1383 compliance.
So that'd be April?
Yeah, I would say around April. So when you go there, you'll have to make sure that your food waste is bagged separately and put where it's supposed to go. They did send me pictures where they went out there recently, and it did show that it had a green waste collection area, it had mixed recycling, cardboard collection area, and then of course the trash. So they sent me picture proof that that's what they saw. Again, though, when we go out there, that's all gone. So I don't know, maybe they get a heads up and they put it out, but they're not contractually obligated to operate the transfer station that way right now. And of course, they don't have all of the permits through CalRecycle to, operate in SB 1383 compliance right now at that transfer station, so.
They have magnetic signs they put up. Look here, this is our place.
Yeah, so they have a lot going on in order to become compliant, similar to us, but we don't operate the transfer station, thankfully. But we're just gonna tell our customers, and they're telling their customers, go ahead and source separate now, but just know it might all go into one pile right now, and just, you'll be ready for when it starts in the spring. And they want us to say that too. And then I did ask for an update from them on kind of how their implementation's going, and it's very similar to ours. It's just a lot of back and forth between them and CR&R. And, we have a territory overlap kind of, where people think they live in Phelan, but they don't. And so we're still having issues, even today, with corporate, when they hear the word Phelan, transferring us calls that are really Oak Hills. So,
Or Bali Mesa.
yeah,
Yeah.
Victorville even.
Yeah.
So we're just working through it and then telling them, what they need to do based off of where they live. So, and same thing, they said that they've mailed out lots of postcards, and I've seen all the stuff that they've sent out, and that people are still not aware of what's going on. Same thing, the issue we have, short of going door to door. I think I told you this at one of the meetings. One of the guys said that the flyer was too colorful, so he didn't take it as a serious notice. But at a prior meeting, another person told me that I need to make it colorful so that it stands out. So can't win. But that's why we do all of the above. So formal letter, we do the flyers, we did a separate postcard, and starting in November, we're going to do a direct mail postcard to anybody who hasn't identified themselves as a self-hauler or signed up for service yet. So moving right along, applications have slowed way down, and just kind of sorting through getting everybody the service. You'll notice, I've noticed more driving around that more people have the 3-cart service now.
I'm noticing a lot of dumpsters disappearing. And the carts
Yeah,
coming in place.
yeah, that's starting to settle down too. So I'll be interested to see the end of year kind of summary of like how many dumpsters we ended up with at the end of this year compared to last year.
Yeah, where the shift will be.
So that's kind of it on my update.
Well, thank you. I don't have any questions. Do you? Okay. You've been jumping through all the hoops. I'm very thankful for that.
There's a lot.
And they change them all the time.
Just when you thought it's this size, no, it's this size. SB 1383 and recycling requirements, compliance order and outreach. We basically just went over that. with
We
the
did,
numbers,
yeah. I meet with the state every 2 months on our compliance order, and they're happy with the data we're providing right now. There's just a few things that I'm waiting for them to send me in order to update our order. Because right now it has some stuff that's just not in sync. So they're going to fix that up. And that's it. We're doing all of the required outreach above and beyond that SB 1383 requires, so.
Well, I haven't been getting much grumbles from the public like we did when we first started this. Everybody seems to be settling into, is the way things are shifting.
Yeah,
a
once
little
I
bit more.
realized there's really no impact if they're going to keep self-hauling, I think that was the biggest thing,
Yeah.
was the self-hauler. And then, the people that want to keep the dumpster working through, there's 1,200 of them, and I feel like we've spoken to all 1,200 of them at this point, that, yeah, sorry, you still have to have a recycling and an organics can because it's the law. And they're like, well, what am I going to put in it? I put everything in my dumpster, and then explaining you can't put everything in your dumpster anymore. So, and then they're realizing, oh, well, I can save money and I'll just get extra carts. And so it ends up being better for them by calling and having that conversation with us. Although it is very convenient just to throw everything in one dumpster.
I can see why they'd grumble about that in some ways, yeah. It is easier just to have one place to put it all.
Exactly.
And what does an extra cart cost? Is it
$7 and some change.
Every month, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of the cart costs, CR&R agreed to that full price, full comprehensive study, but we don't think it's necessary to get that in depth and spend that amount of money because we're responsible for half of it. And so the consultant's supposed to have a proposal to me by the end of the week to narrow it down to the required services and the common options and get me a new quote, which will run by CRNR. But I was shocked. They're like, okay, no problem. We'll pay for the study. I'm like, well, good news. It's not going to be that expensive. And they were even willing to have like all of their rates analyzed. But I don't think it's
We're at that point yet.
fiscally prudent to do that, especially when we're really just concerned with that mandatory compliance option and the commercial rates.
And we're still set to have that go directly to the board instead of having it cross here. Do you want it to cross here still?
Depends on the timeline, so if it works
lines
out
up.
to where it can come to committee first, we'll bring it here, but you saw the proposal, it was just really high number. So the scope is just gonna be limited to some specified services.
Okay. Yeah, if it's available to pass here
Yeah,
beforehand, it'd be great, but if
and
not, then-
honestly, if it comes in really cheap, it's within our discretionary spending, so it won't even need to come to the board for approval.
That makes sense then too, yeah.
Yeah. We can just report on what happened. And I think it will be, it should, since it's gonna be significantly reduced. And, but corporate did want to wait until, the end of the year to do this. But we'll be fine in order to get somebody's having a hard time out there. In order to get the rates, before the board, the committee and then the board, before the April deadline.
Sounds good.
Okay. Besides the other things, is there anything else we need to add to staff report?
No, we are gonna be applying, I mean, the only other thing that's in here that we haven't talked about is we're gonna be applying for the local compliance grant for SB 1383 again.
Okay.
So we got $20,000 last go around. I complained a lot about how little that was and how unfair it was, that it was based on population. And so now the new base award is 75,000. So just by applying, we'll get that. And then if we can show more need or there's more funds, we have a chance at getting that too.
Oh, nice.
So that's paying for these studies and consultants and all of that. So-
Printing costs and,
Yeah, all of the outreach, stuff like that. It doesn't pay for our, like, collateral giveaways, but we always budget for those anyway.
we were doing giveaways prior to all this. So.
Fun days, stuff like that, but,
But they're covering the expense of getting the mailers out and all that. 'Cause Mailers aren't cheap.
yeah, and it's nice, because that one, they just send us a check, and then we report through a very convoluted, ancient 1990s reporting system on the state website in many different ways, where you need to reference one report in order to file the first report, but you can't get the other report until you file the other report. Makes no sense. I sent them a email about it, but I digress. You just have to do the reporting on how you spent it
Okay.
periodically.
Well, I'm good with covering all the stuff, all the information I've
That was
presented.
great. Yep,
Yeah.
good report.
Thank you. Okay, action items. Do we have any prior?
Yeah, the COSTA study proposal to the board, but as we discussed, it might not go to the board.
Yeah. And current, I don't think we did any.
No.
And the next meeting, we know, 15th, and we'll be going over new numbers. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Then, are you good?
I'm done.
We're adjourned. Thank you. We'll see you guys next month for this one. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
I'll be here.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.